So good afternoon everyone. Today we will be discussing the chapter 12 Business Ethics, Fraud and Fraud Detection. So this is our learning objectives for today. So first we should be able to understand the broad issues pertaining to business ethics, understand what constitutes fraudulent behavior, be able to explain fraud motivating forces, be familiar with typical fraud schemes perpetrated by managers and employees, be familiar with the common anti-fraud techniques used in both manual and computer-based systems, and be familiar with the use of ACL in the detection of fraud. So uh, every businesses and organization has business ethical standards, and for sure a lot of companies have experienced fraud before, and we will be discussing about business ethics and fraud today. So we will start this chapter by surveying the ethical issues that highlight the organization's conflicting responsibilities to its employees, shareholders, computers, and the general public. Second is devoted to the subject of fraud and its implications for accountants. Ethical issues in businesses. So, ethical standards are derived from societal norms and deep rooted personal beliefs about issues of right and wrong that are not universally agreed upon. The objective is to heighten the reader's awareness of ethical concerns relating to business, information system, and computer technology. So, yung ethical standards, galing siya sa societal norms, which means social norms siya na widely observed sa isang society or culture. Galing din siya sa mga deep-rooted personal beliefs and it is not always universally agreed upon. Next is business ethics. Ethics pertains to the principle of conduct that individuals use in making choices and guiding their behavior in situations that involves the concepts of right and wrong. So ethics is like our guidance to our everyday lives to help us judge whether our behavior and decisions are justifiable. So it guides our decision and actions to have an impact positively. So business ethics involves finding the answer to two questions, and that is how do managers decide what is right in conducting their business, and how once managers have recognized what is right, how do they achieve it? So in business, uh, in ethical issues rather, uh, it can be divided into four areas, and that is the equity, rights, honesty, and the exercise of corporate power. Moving on to ethical issues in business, we have four contexts of ethical issues, and that is the equity, rights, honesty, exercise of corporate power. First, equity. So this is the ethical issues in business in the context of equity. So we have executive salaries, comparable worth, and product pricing. One example is yung comparable worth. Comparable worth, ito yung male and female employee mo. They should receive equal pay pag nag-perform sila ng trabaho, and that involves comparable skills and responsibilities. Sa on the context of rights naman, we have the corporate due process, employee health screening, employer privacy, sexual harassment, diversity, equal employment opportunity, and whistleblowing. So, one example dyan is yung corporate due process. So, nire-recognize mo yung rights ng employee mo to be informed if they are giving unsatisfactory performance, and you are giving them a chance to defend and improve themselves. In the context of honesty naman, we have the employee and management conflicts of interest, security of organization data and records, misleading advertising, questionable business practices in foreign countries, accurate reporting of shareholder interest. One example dyan is yung employee and management conflict of interest. So, ito yung if yung staff member mo, they took part sa activity or relationship that benefits them. So, parang nagkakaroon sila ng personal gain from that activity and, sorry, and relationship. So, in the context of exercise of corporate power naman, we have the political action committees, workplace safety, product safety, environmental issues, divestment of interest, corporate political contributions, and downsizing and plant closures. One example dyan is yung PAC or yung political action committees. So, ito naman yung na-organize siya for the purpose of raising and spending money to elect and also to defeat candidates. Let's now go to making ethical decisions. So, when we are making decisions, we sometimes realize na the decisions that we are about to make comes with risk. So, sa business, ganun din. Pag gagawa ka ng ethical decisions, meron din siyang um, parang meron siyang consequences that can possibly harm or benefit tayo. So, we have guidelines or like guidance for making ethical decisions, and that is the proportionality, justice, and minimize risk. So, sa proportionality, the benefit from a decision must outweigh the risk. So, yun nga, yung decision that will be making should outweigh the harm or risk. Also, dapat wala ding alternative decision na may comparable benefit with less harm. Sa justice, the benefit of the decision should be distributed fairly to those who share the risk. Sa justice naman, yung benefits and burden ng decision na yon should be distributed fairly. Sa mga makaka-benefit, they should have their fair share of the risk, and those naman na walang benefit na matatanggap, they shouldn't suffer a significant increase in risk. Lastly is minimize risk. Even if judged acceptable by the principals, the decision should be implemented so as to minimize all of the risk and avoid any unnecessary risk. So, ayun nga, if we are going to make a decision, we should choose the one that, if not all, most risk will be eliminated, like mami-minimize siya, so um, we can avoid unnecessary risk. Okay. Let's now move on to computer ethics. So, computer ethics is the understanding of the cause and effect to society of computer technology and the corresponding formulation and justification of policies for the ethical use of such technology, including the software and hardware and concerns about networks connecting computers and computers themselves. So, we have three levels of computer ethics, which is pop, para, and theoretical. So, pop computer ethics ito yung parang exposure sa stories and reports na nakikita sa mga popular media or social media. And yung positive and negative outcome naman ng computer technology. Yun yung pop computer ethics. Next is yung para ethics naman. So, para ethics, this involves parang having a genuine interest in computer cases and acquiring some levels of risk and knowledge in the field, such as parang being um, parang para magiging knowledgeable ka regarding sa mga computer viruses tsaka computer system na dinesign para sa mga handicapped persons. Lastly is the theoretical computer ethics. Uh, Theoretical computer ethics is of interest to multidisciplinary researchers who apply the theories of philosophy, sociology, and psychology to computer science with the goal of bringing new understanding to the field. Now, let's go to a new problem or just a twist on an old problem. So, some argues that all pertinent ethical issues have already been examined in some other domain. So, by the time the world and its population reach the 21st century, innovations and new inventions with regard to modern technology have been quite mind-blowing. So, yung mga dating mga bulky na computers, yung mga phones na hindi smartphone, yung parang mga dikipad pa, ganun. Ngayon, ngayon, they are now slim and sleek devices na pwede natin madala anywhere, magamit kahit saan, kahit kailan, tsaka maka-access na din tayo sa internet. So, na, parang madali na lang tayo nakaka-access sa mga apps na pwedeng maka-deliver ng food sa mga bahay natin, magkaroon tayo ng bank-to-bank transfer, communicate to anyone, tapos like be anywhere with just a click of your fingers sa gadgets natin. So little did we know that as we go on as we go in depth with ourselves with these modern technologies, meron din to mga risks tsaka possibly loose data or information that we should be protecting of. So in this topic, we will discuss the issues and concerns regarding accounting information systems that are very important to understand and be aware of. Let's go to privacy. So, people desire to be in full control of what and how much information about themselves is available to others and to whom it is available. So, this is the arising of issue of privacy. The creation and maintenance of huge shared databases makes it necessary to protect people from the potential misuse of data. So, this is the arising of issue of ownership in the personal information industry. So, so the personal information that we share online, like for example, pag nag-shopping tayo or sa mga financial purposes, or kahit sa mga social media, katulad ng mga full name, date of birth, locations natin, gender, uh, identification numbers, also malaking bagay na rin yung political and religious views. So, etong mga sinabi ko is they're all crucial in identifying who we are and also locating kung nasan tayo. However, the moment we make this information available to public platforms, ginagawa na yung vulnerable sa identity theft and also crimes involving such. Um, since we already gave out information of ourselves to our social media platforms, this can be easily manipulated by firms na bumibili tsaka nagbebenta ng mga information sa third-party firms for marketing purposes. So, at times, may mga conditions na ini-inform tayo sa terms and conditions, pero I'm pretty sure, if not all, most of us doesn't read terms and condition kasi napakahaba niya, no? So, usually, parang kiniklik na lang natin agad yung agree. And with that, hindi natin namamalayan na nag-agree na pala tayo na yung information natin is gagamitin and nasi-share siya sa ibang company, which technically we gave consent to. So, ayun, yun yung privacy. Next is security. Computer security Computer security is an attempt to avoid such undesirable events as a loss of confidentiality or data integrity. Security systems attempt to prevent fraud and other misuse of computer systems. They act to protect and further the legitimate interests of the system's constituencies. The ethical issues involving securities arise from the emergence of shared computerized databases that have the potential to cause irreparable harm to individuals by disseminating inaccurate information to authorized users, such as the incorrect credit reporting. So, sa security naman, so, gaano ba ka-secure yung data natin? So, nowadays, computer systems offer high quality and high level security and protection na ina-assure tayo na yung mga information natin tsaka yung device natin are protected. So, same goes sa mga website apps, companies and firms na ginagamit natin tsaka ina-access. However, meron pa rin tayong mga nakikitang news tsaka reports na yung mga certain website has been hacked. Katulad ng mga uh, financial institutions. Parang yung last, nakalimutan ko yung exact date. Pero, di ba nagkaroon ng issue about BPI na nahack yung website nila. So, ayun. Wala lang. Relevant lang siya sa topic. So, ayun. So, that can only meant na yung security nila may not be that strong at all. Now, what happens is, to the data ng sa mga data ng customers tsaka users ng certain apps tsaka website, um, ano nga ba yung nangyari sa mga data nila? Well, the possibilities can go on. So, yung information na to, pwede siyang mapunta sa wrong hands and can be used or sa mga wrongful activities. So, you leaking important and accurate informations to unauthorized people can be a disaster, as well as giving inaccurate information to authorized people may cause problems such as through true and correct credit reporting. Ownership of property laws designed to preserve real property rights have been extended to cover what is referred to as intellectual property, that is, software. So, ownership of property. So, laws that were made to protect the real property rights were extended to software or yung tinatawag nating intellectual property. So, in the computer world, varieties of software programs ay ginawa para matulungan yung mga consumers sa trabaho nila or sa mga leisures. So, softwares that are commonly used is like yung mga Microsoft Office, security and antiviruses, media players, and marami pa. And usually, itong mga sinabi ko is nabibili and nabibenta online para magkaroon tayo ng legitimate access sa product na yun. So, softwares are sold and protected by laws to avoid piracy, tsaka copyright issues among software developers that have worked hard to create it. But, sa ating mga consumers na bumili ng softwares na to, how much ownership do we have with the products that we buy ba? Next is equity and access. The economic status of the individual or the affluence of an organization will determine the ability to obtain information technology. Culture also limits access. So, sa equity and access naman, this refers to the limit of access depending on economic status, culture, safety features, or one's firm or individual. So, though may mga limits na avoidable sa parang careful system design. Lastly is environmental issues. So, computers with high-speed printers allow for the production of printed documents faster than ever before. However, paper comes from the trees and a precious natural resources and ends up in landfills if not properly recycled. So, yun nga, nowadays, meron na tayong Bluetooth or wireless printers na available and na-access na siya anywhere. So, in an office scenario, usually, katulad nung dati nung nag-work ako, each computer para meron silang access sa wireless printer para for convenience and easy printing na din. So, like, one can easily print any documents with the click of the mouse. So, at times, minsan yung mga tao, we tend to abuse the convenience that technologies have given us. So, when we print, syempre gumagamit tayo ng papers, and then itong mga papers na to is gawa sa mga trees. One of the most important natural resources that gets extinct as years pass by. Ngayon, itong mga printouts na to, they're usually used once. Then, tinatapon na lang din natin sila after natin sila gamitin. Not only it adds to the waste pollution we already have, it also worsens our environment kasi yung mga paper companies, they keep cutting trees and leaves our nature bare and abused. That would be all. Thank you.